Hey everyone, it's Emily, and today I wanted to talk about timelines and how I use them in our homeschool. So starting around first grade-ish is when we start history, and I try to do a 4-year cycle, but honestly, I don't know that I've ever successfully done a 4-year cycle. But my goal is overall to give them the ability to see the scope of history. And so for that, I use timelines. I really think it's very important to teach history with a timeline so that they can see that scope. If it's just a bunch of dates that have no meaning to them, they're not going to remember it, and they're certainly not going to gain anything by learning those dates. So I like to use a timeline, and for very small children, like basically elementary level, we usually do some sort of big timeline that we can put out so they can see it pretty much all the time. And around 5th or 6th grade, we start a book of centuries, which is just a timeline in a binder, basically. So I'm going to show you my timelines that we have done over the years. The first timeline that we've used is just a trifold display board, like the kind that you can get at Walmart or Dollar Tree for really cheap, and you can fold it up and put it away behind the bookshelf or something so that it is out of the way, because we live in a small house. I don't have a lot of space for this sort of thing. And you can see it's not overly full. We didn't put a ton of stuff on it, but it was more like when the mood struck. And basically, as we read about something in history, they would add a timeline figure. And some of them they drew, like these. And some we found on Google Images and I printed out. And most of them, like this here, this was just Riley being interested in a topic and saying, hey, where does this fit on the timeline? And so he made a figure for it, and then I helped him figure out where to put it. So that is how we used our timeline. And we used this up until the boys are probably in like 4th grade or so, and then we switched over to using a timeline in a notebook. And that is basically it. It's very simple. We just made this fancier one from my youngest, and we haven't really done much with it yet because honestly she's just not quite ready for timelines yet. But we have put up a few figures just to get us started. And this was a little more involved. I literally just found these 2 big bulletin boards at our town recycling center. And now the sun's too bright. Okay, let me get in the shadow. Okay, and I thought we could somehow make these into a timeline, and then I kind of threw the idea at my husband, who is far more artistic than I am, and we ordered these like antique-y looking maps on Amazon. We got some colored Scotch tape, and I used a label maker to make the dates, and really that's it. It's fairly simple, but it looks really pretty. I like it. And I like that I can display it in my kitchen, and it's schooly, but it's not like tacky school. So anyway, we just put the timeline figures up on here as we read about events in history. And finally, I'll show you what a timeline in a notebook looks like. This is my daughter's, and I'm showing you hers because she's got the most stuff in it, because she's been doing it the longest. So I don't know if you can see this, I have all of our dates tabbed like this, and it goes from ancients through modern. And as she learns about something in history, it goes into her book of centuries. So she's got all sorts of things in here, reports that she has written, and little activity pages that I made for her. She drew this map and then wrote information about what she learned. There's map work in here. So just all kinds of stuff that she wants to file in here. And she started this, I believe, when she was in about the 6th grade. And she's been adding to it ever since. And now she's in the 11th grade, so it's gotten quite thick. And I like the idea of this, especially starting it in the middle grades and working through high school into it, because in the end, she's going to have her very own history book that she has written. And at first I assigned things for her to add to it, but eventually she just started adding things as she felt like it. So this works well for a variety of homeschooling styles, from what we do, like Charlotte Mason style, to even unschooling. And I just wanted to quick show you a section of one of my son's timelines. And this is actually the timeline I designed for Build Your Library. This is a book of centuries. So it's divided by time period. And this is the medieval history time period. And you can see I have it in sections. War and politics, people to know, discoveries and technologies, religion and philosophy, and arts and architecture. And actually, my boys really appreciate that because it helps them to kind of figure out where things go rather than just trying to figure out what to put on the timeline. And we have a good mix here. Riley doesn't like to draw very often, so he would rather just write the information. And then I also have some timeline figures that I designed, and he likes those a lot, so that he can just color them in. He likes to color more than he likes to draw. And so he just cuts them out, colors them, and figures out where to put them. So sometimes he writes some information. I always encourage them, if they're going to write a name or a date, to at least put a little information. And you can see he did not for Battle of Hastings, but he did for William the Conqueror and Omar Khayyam. And if there's a timeline figure, he just assumes he doesn't need to write anything, I guess. But yeah, you could also have more information here. And I like this format a lot because it kind of gives it more of a journaling type of aspect. And again, my boys are not big on the writing, but this kind of inspires a little more into researching, that sort of thing. So I really like that. And I will link information about this timeline in the description below if you want more information, because like I said, I designed this for Build Your Library, which is my homeschool curriculum that I write. And I drew the timeline figures too. Aren't I a fabulous artist? So that's how I use timelines in our homeschool. If you've used timelines, please share what yours looks like and how you do it. I've seen so many amazing looking timelines. Just Googling homeschool timelines, you see so much creativity in the homeschool community. We could do so many amazing things at home for our kids. It's awesome, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.